Did you know that the United States provides Israel with more military aid than any other country in the world? We're talking about a staggering $3.8 billion annually, a figure that has sparked heated debates and divided opinions both in the US and internationally. Why does America invest so much in Israel? Is this just about military strategy, or are there deeper, more intricate reasons behind this decades-old alliance? In this article, we're going to peel back the layers of history, politics, and culture to explore the US-Israel relationship. We'll examine how this unique partnership came to be, why it continues to thrive, and what both countries gain from it. We'll also dig into the controversies surrounding this financial commitment, including criticisms from both within the US and abroad. Ready to uncover why the US has such a strong love affair with Israel? Let's dive in. The US-Israel relationship, a deep-rooted connection. To understand why the United States pours billions into Israel, we need to go back to the beginning. This isn't just a recent political strategy. It's a relationship rooted in history, dating back to Israel's founding in 1948. The United States was one of the first countries to recognize Israel as a sovereign state, setting the stage for a relationship that would grow stronger over the decades. But this bond isn't just about diplomatic recognition. The US and Israel share cultural and ideological values, such as a commitment to democracy and human rights. Let's take a moment to consider the influence of shared values. Democracies tend to gravitate toward other democracies as they share foundational beliefs in individual freedoms, the rule of law, and equality. Israel stands out as a democratic nation in the Middle East, a region where authoritarian regimes and political instability are prevalent. For the US, this makes Israel a natural partner in a region of the world where such alliances are hard to come by. But shared values are just the tip of the iceberg. Let's dive deeper into the strategic, political, and military aspects of this alliance. Strategic allies in a volatile region. For the United States, supporting Israel isn't just a matter of goodwill or moral alignment, it's a matter of strategic necessity. The Middle East has long been one of the most volatile regions in the world, with conflicts ranging from the Israeli-Palestinian dispute to wars in Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and the rise of extremist groups like ISIS. In this geopolitical cauldron, Israel has proven to be an indispensable ally for the US, not just in terms of military strength, but also in intelligence sharing. Imagine for a moment that you're a US policymaker. You're dealing with threats from multiple directions. Iran, a nation with a nuclear program that has caused international concern, terrorist groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, and regional instability in countries like Syria and Lebanon. Now, who do you turn to in the region? Israel, with its advanced military technology, highly trained forces, and strategic location, is your most reliable partner. The $3.8 billion in annual military aid, which is part of a larger 10-year memorandum of understanding signed in 2016, is more than just money. It's an investment in regional security. Much of this aid goes toward bolstering Israel's military capabilities, including funding for missile defense systems like the famous Iron Dome, which protects Israel from rocket attacks. In return, the US gains a stable foothold in the Middle East, allowing it to project power and influence in a region that has been historically resistant to American intervention. Israel's ability to defend itself also reduces the need for direct US military involvement, saving American lives and resources. Quick fact: since 1949, the US has provided Israel with over $150 billion in bilateral assistance and missile defense funding. The power of lobbying, IPAC, and influence in Washington. Now let's talk about another major factor that solidifies this alliance: lobbying. When discussing US-Israel relations, it's impossible to ignore the influence of AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. Founded in 1951, AIPAC is one of the most powerful lobbying organizations in Washington. Its mission: to ensure strong American support for Israel. AIPAC exerts considerable influence over US foreign policy, particularly when it comes to ensuring continued aid to Israel. How do they do it? Through a combination of advocacy, public relations, and of course, campaign contributions to US politicians. The lobbying efforts of AIPAC and other pro-Israel organizations have helped frame the US-Israel relationship as not only a strategic alliance, but also a moral imperative. The idea is that supporting Israel isn't just good for America's geopolitical interests. It's the right thing to do, given the shared democratic values and the long history of Jewish persecution. AIPAC's influence is vast, and they've successfully garnered bipartisan support for Israel across multiple US administrations, regardless of whether a Democrat or Republican is in the White House. It's a testament to how deeply ingrained the US-Israel relationship is in the fabric of American politics. Did you know AIPAC's annual conference attracts thousands of attendees, including members of Congress, foreign dignitaries, and high-profile speakers from both sides of the aisle? Controversies and criticisms, too much support. Despite the strength of this alliance, the US-Israel relationship is not without its controversies. For one, not everyone in the United States is on board with the idea of providing such large sums of military aid to Israel. Critics argue that $3.8 billion a year is too much, especially when there are pressing domestic needs like healthcare, education, and infrastructure. There's also the issue of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Many people, both in the US and around the world, believe that the US's unwavering support for Israel has made it harder to achieve peace in the region. Critics argue that by supplying Israel with military aid, the US is effectively enabling the continuation of occupation and settlement building in the West Bank, further exacerbating tensions with the Palestinians. Internationally, countries in the Middle East and beyond have long criticized the US for what they see as unbalanced support. They argue that the US's favoritism toward Israel undermines its role as a neutral mediator in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This criticism has been a persistent feature of US foreign policy in the Middle East, complicating relationships with other key regional players like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Jordan. Conclusion: a complex, multifaceted relationship. The relationship between the US and Israel is far more than just a matter of military aid. It's a complex web of history, culture, strategic interests, and political influence. While the US provides billions in aid to Israel, it also receives significant benefits in terms of intelligence sharing, military cooperation, and regional stability. However, the relationship is also fraught with controversy. The financial support, while essential to Israel's security, comes with its own set of ethical and geopolitical questions questions that continue to be debated both in Washington and around the world. So, what do you think? Is the US's support for Israel justified, or does it need to change? Should the US reevaluate its role in the Middle East, or is this alliance too crucial to abandon? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're curious to dive into more geopolitical topics like this one, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for our next deep dive.